passion for all things nerdy. Dungeons and Dragons, this world's not blurry. From comics to movies, he's got it all. He's an Outpost nerd living in a geeky world with his lightsaber shining. He's a Star Wars swerve through galaxies and adventures. He'll take you there, take you there. He's an Outpost nerd, no one can compare. Nerd power, yeah, he's the king of nerds, catching out there.
Welcome, my nerds, geeks, and dweebs, to another transmission from the Outpost Nerd. I am the nerd of the Outpost, and I hope everyone is having a good day today. Nice and sunny down here in the Sunshine State. Got my window open, the cool breeze, enjoying the day. So I hope everyone's doing great. Today is an interesting topic that I thought of that I would share my thoughts on, some articles that I found. The importance of hobbies. Everyone should have a hobby, something that we can disconnect from life by doing, something that we enjoy, something that satisfies the creative need that most people have. I have found that with my hobbies, which I will share, I get that hit of endorphins that a lot of people are always searching for. I find that creating is one of the biggest rushes. I've been in the arts, I've been in music, I've been in theater, I've been in bands. I'm a band geek. I will be a band geek for the rest of my life. I look on to those hours in the band room and on the practice field and marching during halftime shows. I look on to them with great love. The friends that I made all those years ago, I could still write on Facebook or Twitter and say, "Hey, how's it going?" And we would talk. We'd fall back into our old routines. I've been in theater. With that feeling of just moving the audience, making them feel. It's amazing. And it's something that I think a lot of people strive for. And sometimes they don't find it. Sometimes they do. But when you do find it, it's addicting. And we get that satisfaction from our hobbies. And they say that if you can turn your hobby into a career, you'll never work a day in your life. And it's true. I found the hours I've spent in the theater or in the band room some of the most precious times that I'll ever have, that I'll ever look back on. And I think we as adults, we need to have those kind of hobbies where you can disconnect from the responsibilities of life, the hardships of life, and just relax, and just let those worries fall away. I would love to hear whatever hobbies y'all have. My hobbies are my music, my acting, my YouTube, of course. That goes without saying, doing this. I read and write. I'm writing. Been working on my own story for a very long time, and some people. My dad, his hobby is working out in the yard. Everyone has their different hobbies, and you shouldn't be ashamed of your hobbies. A lot of people, they see other people's hobbies and they disregard or degrade them for it. I've had friends who are utterly obsessed with football, with college football, I had a friend specifically was obsessed with the Florida Gators. He ate, breathed, and slept Florida Gators. He loved the Florida Gators. He was a friend from church, and all of us, we had all our different teams. I'm an Auburn fan, War Eagle, by the way. Uh, he was a Gator fan. And in our area, there was a lot of FSU fans or Miami fans. We all had our different teams, and Saturday, Sunday morning before Sunday school, we rag on each other about who won or lost the day before. And it got to the point where he stopped coming to church because we were ragging him about the Gators having a bad season that year. And I remember looking at telling him, I said, dude, we do this to each other. It's all in good fun. Stop letting your love of football cloud your walk with God. It was utterly ridiculous. You're turning football into an idol. There was one Sunday we had Bobby Bowden, the legendary college football coach from FSU, come and speak at our church. This was a few years before he passed away. And my friend, he comes to church in blue and orange, decked out in gator. And instead of sitting there listening to a man give his testimony, all he could see was the football coach. And he sat there with arms crossed. I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. I understand this is your hobby, but the hobbies can become obsessions very quick. So we need to find that balance of hobbies versus obsession. But how do we find our hobby in the first place? That's one question that a lot of people don't know how to answer. A lot of people, they don't know how to find a hobby. I would love to start like blacksmithing or model making or like making costumes for cosplay. But then when you get into these as new people in these communities, you get overwhelmed, and so a lot of people, they look into things and just give up. But I have some I found this really awesome lesson guide from the University of Arkansas that I'm going to go over. It's called "The Importance of Hobbies," and it's interesting. I was reading over this. Oh, there we go. This is from Division of Agriculture Research and Extension at the University of Arkansas. I'm going to skim it, and I'm going to talk about a few things. The introduction: hobbies provide a fulfilling, productive use of free time, and this is where I think obsession can come into it. Our core identities are often bound up in the interests we choose to pursue when we are not working, sleeping, or spending time with loved ones. In this lesson, we'll learn more about the importance of hobbies. Importance of hobbies. Having a hobby that we enjoy brings us joy and enriches our lives. It gives us something fun to do during our leisure time and affords us the opportunity to learn new skills. We are fortunate to have so many different options out here today. In fact, there are entire websites devoted to hobbies and interests. More than that, there are YouTube channels. You can find, oh God, if it's out there, it's on YouTube. The best way to cultivate new hobbies is to try something new. The world is full of wonderful, exciting activities that we explore and adopt on our own. Of course, all of us are unique, therefore our interests and hobbies vary. But once we find a hobby that we truly enjoy and are passionate about, we become hooked. It becomes part of our lives and captivates us in a very personal way. How it captivates us. That's why a lot of people, when they're attacked for their hobbies, they take it very personally. One thing I enjoy comics. I enjoy nerd stuff. Um, I love comics. I read comic books.
These are not the magazines that we all wish had boobs in them, but don't.
Some of the comics are pretty. They're pretty risque. They're got boobs in them. All those 90 comic superhero comics. Yeah, it's what I grew up on. But getting there are many reasons that why all of us should enjoy at least one hobby, but here are the main advantages. It makes us more interesting. People who have hobbies have experiences and stories that they can share with others. They also have specialized knowledge that they can teach to anyone who has an interest in the same topic as they do. And that's why I think there is no set group that has control of a hobby, like the gatekeepers. I'm hesitant to use that word, but there's a lot of gatekeeping in hobbies and interests today that causes a lot of issues. That if people would just take the chance and listen, I think it would be. These hobbies are ways to bring people together, but they want to keep others that they disagree with on other things out. They don't want to use it as a bridge to discuss differences of opinions or views and beliefs. They just want to. They just want to. They want to think they're the end all be all of that specific topic. When these topics and hobbies should be used, like I said, to bridge us together. It helps to relieve stress by keeping you engaged in something you enjoy. Hobbies give you a way to take your mind off the stresses of everyday life. They let you relax and seek pleasure in activities that aren't associated with work, chores, or other responsibilities. Now, I have been told that this is borderline escapism, where you just disregard your life. No, hobbies are not meant to allow you to escape reality. They're meant to help you deal with reality. They're meant to allow that stress to float away, just like a river. Be like water, man. Like Bruce Lee would say, "Be water." Hobbies help you become more patient. In order to develop a new hobby, you have to learn how to do something that is brand new to you. The odds are there will be a learning curve, and you will need to be patient in order to build your skills. Yeah, a lot of people, I'm guilty of this. They try something new and then they just give up first or second try. They don't allow themselves to fail. And working with students, I always told them the mistakes are more important than the successes. The mistakes are how we learn. Mistakes allow us to realize where our shortcomings are and what we need to do for us to grow as people. So making mistakes is not a bad thing. I've had students get really upset that they've made mistakes. Well, that's how we learn. Having a hobby can help your social life and create a bond with others. A hobby is something that you can frequently enjoy with other people, whether you join a club, play in a league, or just gift others with fruits of your labors. A hobby is a great way to meet and get closer to people who have the same interests as you do. That's like here on YouTube. I've met some really interesting people. That is perfect. That is a perfect way of saying it. Mistakes are stepping stones to success, but only if you learn from them. Shelly, home run. Home run. That is just legitness.
That was legitness. Yeah, it was. Huh? That was legitness. Yeah, it was. Huh?
It's. I understand people that. I understand how disheartening it can be when you make mistakes. And like I'm guilty of it. I am so guilty of it myself. Um, I've been trying to learn how to edit music. Check out Grimm's Bar on his channel. He's got great music. He's been really encouraging, learning. Hey, try this program, play around with it. He's really good at he makes some amazing music. It's got this 80s, 90s techno feel that it's really amazing. Some of his songs, one of his songs, Runaway, I can listen to it over and over again. Love his stuff. And he's really encouraging me to try to learn how to do music. It it also allows us to connect with so many different people from all over the world. I have met here on YouTube people from Australia, a guy from South America, I think Brazil, Toy Box Brain was from. I can't remember. I haven't talked to him in a while. Shelly, from one of my favorite people. Take out Talking Trash and Truth for some great ways to start your morning with some really hard-hitting, interesting, amazing topics. But her in New Jersey, YouTube has allowed me to connect with so many different people with so many different views and life experiences. And it has allowed me to learn from them, and I hope them to learn from me and share great ways to really just learn from each other. Next bullet point, it increases your confidence and self-esteem. The odds are that if you're really enjoying an activity, you are usually pretty good at it. Any activity that you can excel in is an opportunity for you to build your confidence and develop pride in your accomplishments. Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time I ever had to get up in front of a group of people. It was 6th grade language arts. I was doing an oral book report in front of the class. Yes, thank you, Shelly, for sharing that. My computer was being slow. Wouldn't open up his YouTube page. Thank you. And getting back to my story, I remember going up. We were allowed a little 8x10 card. Getting up, and I wrote basically in microscopic print my entire report. I go and sit down. My best friend sitting beside me. He's like, "Dude, are you okay?" I say, "Yeah, why?" He said, "When you got up there, your arms were just shaking uncontrollably." Now, if you told that 6th grade kid that he would be later, there would be a thing like YouTube where you talk to the world and he would be doing it, he would tell you you're crazy. But going on here, it's allowed me to really work through the emotions of like, holy crap, am I going to say something stupid? Am I going to click the wrong button? But I'm getting better at that. Our next one is hobbies help reduce or eradicate boredom. They give you something to do when you find yourself with nothing to fill your time. They also give you an activity you can look forward to and get excited about. Yeah, it's like they say the idle hands are the devil's play tools. Having a hobby allows you to just it allows for the passage of time, and it gives, like I said, gives you the self-confidence. It increases your knowledge. Along with building new skills, You will also gain new knowledge that the development of through you also gain new knowledge through the development of your hobby. Yeah, like I've learned so much about the like tech stuff, video editing, music editing, sound editing. I had a saying that I told my college theater professor. I started the theater when I was 27, 28. Was probably one of the oldest students in my class with probably the least experience in the theater because a lot of these kids, and I say kids, they were 17 to 18 years old, fresh out of high school, had been doing the theater in high school, part of their theater groups in high school. One of the guys who had been he did commercials as a baby. He'd been in it that long. He went on to do the cruise lines, singing on cruise lines out in the South Pacific. And really amazing guy, really great, amazing performer, great actor. Worked a couple of shows on him. But I didn't have the experience that all the others had. I was, like I said, fresh into the program. And I told my professor, I said, teach me. I'm starving to learn this. And I had no problem like working with these kids and like they asked me to do something. I'm like, okay, how do you want it done? I was learning from them because they had experience. They were able with their experience, they were able to increase my knowledge. It enriches next one. It enriches your life and gives you a different perspective on things. No matter what type of hobby you choose, you will definitely be exposed to new ideas. This is just what I was saying. Their ways of doing things were new for me, which I was able to learn from and really translate into how I did things. Hobbies help you grow in various ways, including exposing you to new opinions and new ways to look at life. Like there was one girl that we worked with that she was really got to be a really good friend of mine while we were in the college together. She had this innate ability to listen to your idea, take them, and work with you to make them better. It was so much fun to work with her, and I hope to work with her one day again. Next one, it challenges you. When you pick a new hobby, you will be involved in activities that are novel and challenging. If you don't find your hobby challenging, then you won't find it engaging and it will be less enjoyable. This means you need to find a better hobby. When I kind of agree, I don't know if I agree with that so much. I understand that maybe hobbies do need to be challenging. But they also need to become a point where it's enjoyable to do with second nature, maybe. I don't know if I agree with that. It's the last little bullet point here. It helps prevent bad habits and wasting time. This is what did I just? This is the same thing I just said a moment ago. There's an old saying that idle hands are the devil's workshop. You know, pretty much. If you had good hobbies to fill up your free time, then you will be less likely to spend that time on wasteful or negative activities. If I didn't have my music, my theater, that way of creating things, I honestly believe I'd be hooked on something, trying to find that same experience, that same feeling. So I agree with this. It helps keep you away from things that can be harmful for you. Now, someone might be saying, "Look, nerd, hobbies are just for kids. You know, adults, we have to grow up. We have to provide for our families, friends, and be there for for our families. Yes, that's true. But hobbies aren't just for kids. Jimmy Buffett said, had a song said, "I'm growing older, but not up." And we see that a lot with men. Men don't grow up; their toys just get bigger. You when I was growing up, my dad had bought us go karts and four wheelers, and would take us hunting. His he'd take us on boats. He would go out to we have an island just off the shore of my town, and we'd go there for the day. His toys got bigger, and he was just a big kid too. A lot of times, there were times where he'd be serious. He'd have to be the serious adult, and it was understandable. But he he was really good at having responsible fun and sharing his hobbies with me and my brother. Our next section kind of fits in with what I was just talking about. It says how to find a hobby as an adult. Try to figure out what to do during your off days or evenings. Could be some tough stuff. It can feel a little cheesy trying to find a hobby as an adult, especially when one doesn't include drinking or happy hours. I had an uncle who his hobby was going out to the bar. He enjoyed going out for drinks with his friends. When you don't know what to choose, all the options seem kind of lame. Knitting is for old ladies. Sports has never been your thing. Or if you pick up something like biking or gaming, you'll feel like a little kid. But having a hobby doesn't just have to be a time filler you do in between friends hanging out and work. It can morph into a passion that gets you excited, helps you recover from a long day, or gets your mind working. It helps you boost the quality of your life, and that's why they're so important to have. There have been so many times where I'll be writing and I get stuck on this plot hook, and I'm thinking, okay, how can I work? I've worked myself into a corner. I've worked my characters into a bad situation. How can I get them out of it? Or I have this plot hook that I want to fit in. How do I figure it out? And I'll go and I'll go play a video game, or I'll go out for a walk. I've gotten the habit of walking just around my neighborhood, starting off small, little mile. I'll put my phone in my pocket and have me some music playing, and then I'll just walk. And there have been so many times where I think I'll be walking and I'm like, Eureka, I got it. I know how to do this. I'll make a note on my phone real quick, and then I'll come home, hurry home, and just start typing out, and it just starts flowing again. The words start flowing. The story just like it's like a dam breaks, just starts flowing again. And it's those little hobbies that allow me to clear my head, allow me to relax enough to let that stress float away. And I'm like, I got it. Continue on what I got here. But what if you're not particularly passionate about everything? Where do you start? Well, first of all, everyone has a passion. You just haven't discovered yours yet. Probably. But don't worry, there are lots of easy and painless ways to find out just what it is. Here, the next are several tips on how to discover what you love to do and find your hobby as an adult. This is what really got me interested in this article when I was reading it. Take it back to your childhood. Let's see. Sorry. Take it back to your childhood. If you don't know where to begin, think about what you loved doing as a kid. Were those times you were wild and free and you didn't do anything unless you really, really loved it? Chances are you still have a lot of those same core interests. How do I sound now? My mic was a little far from my head. How's it now, Shelly? Crafting blogger Sarah White. Yeah, my mic got. I had to move it to take a drink. I guess I didn't move it back far enough. Thank you for letting me know. Crafting blogger Sarah White at Lifehack suggested, are there things you enjoyed as a kid that you might still enjoy as an adult? Maybe you had an awesome record collection, loved to sew clothes for your dolls, or were always out on your bike. Those are all things you should pick up again as an adult that would make great hobbies. This doesn't mean you're about to go play hopscotch or creep or anything. Everyone out at Sandbox. It's just a springboard to discover what you love doing. If it was climbing trees, maybe you could try wall climbing. If it was running through the backwards of your house, try hiking. It's a starting point. I loved model making. I had a huge tub of Legos as a kid. I would go out to the woods. We had woods growing up near my house. Since I was a kid, it's been grown up since then. But I loved hiking. I loved the woods. I loved camping. One thing, I was in the Scouts as a kid, and I loved going camping. I in my area, we have a lot of creeks and trails and camping sites that we would go. I learned so many cool survival skills. And that's one thing I want. That's one hobby I want to get back into. I watch a bunch of these survival, like how to survive, like how to build a little shelter in the woods and how to cook food. I remember in one of my scouting trips, we learned how to make Tarzan steak. And Tarzan steak is basically what you do is in right on the edge of a fire, you find a flat side stone with a flat side, and you put it by the fire so it gets nice and hot, and you make the steak on the stone, on the hot stone, and it was really good. Our scout master taught us how to do it, and he also showed us how to use the ashes, cover the meat with the ashes, and really cook it. Really amazing. We learned how to do all these kind of things, tie knots, and wood carving, and how to make fires without matches. It was awesome. So much fun back then, and it was a really fun time. My parents would go up with us on these camping trips, and it was a really great time that I got to learn things from my dad. Out of me and my brother, I was always the one with more extracurricular activities, and it allowed some really special times. I remember I don't live far from a major naval air station, and the Blue Angels would come for their homecoming every year. Well, one of our scout parents, he was I think he was National Guard. He was able to get us, our scout troop, onto the base, and we would camp out on the bases and then go to the air shows during the day. We would go, I remember going through the chow line at the commissary or the mess hall and just being amazed by all this. It was so much fun seeing getting a little glimpse as a kid of military life. The next section, try a couple of ideas on for size. If you're stumped where to begin, Throw yourself into options and see how you respond to them. Sometimes doing something as easy as walking around a crafts or sports store can get you thinking. Blogger White recommended if something from your past doesn't immediately jump out at you, it might be useful to hit the craft store and the sporting goods store or the nearest music emporium or bookstore. Browse around and see what captures your attention. Maybe you find yourself drawn to the cookbooks or the scrapbooking section. This can be a clue to what you might be interested in. Sometimes you have to physically see an option to get yourself curious about it. So go do some recon work in the stores. Exactly. Get out there, put yourself out there, see what options are around you. Like I said, camping is an option around me because I live, as Shelley puts it, in the country. And, that might not be for Shelley. That's living in the big city. That might not be a good option. I don't know how far like the wooded part of New Jersey is from you, Shelley, but I kayaking. That's one thing I love to do. I used to go kayaking every Sunday afternoon with my friends for a few years. We have a dam, and our dam forms a big lake that it's actually the lake I live on actually, and his aunt lived on about a mile or two on the other side of the lake, and we would put in at the dam at the they had a boat landing right beside it, and we put in and just go. We have sandwiches in our kayaks, and we would just go. And it was such a great workout. I lost like 10 pounds in a month doing this, and it was great. We splash each other. We'd and then we get to his aunt's house, pull up on shore, eat, hang out, talk to his family, and then we'd go back. Going back was harder because you were coming off the you had the wind coming off the bay across the lake. So there was one time my two buddies are all packed up, ready to go, and I'm still like 200-300 yards out in the lake, trying my hardest, paddling as hard as I could to get to it. But it was so much fun. Hey, Suzanne. Hey, thank you for being here. And I think it was not last Christmas, but the Christmas before last. My dad gets one of those clear kayaks that you can see down under the water. Water's was a little muddy for a long time, but it's just those things that you enjoy, that you can look back on it and just think back with such fondness. Next one. This one I think is very important. Yo, Rex, how's it trucking, my brother? How's it going? Choose something that will make you forget about your day. And I think this is one of, if not the most important part of having a hobby. If you're not into the idea of picking up a hobby just to occupy your downtime, try to think of something that makes you forget about the stresses and worries of your day. It should be something that helps you unwind and slip back into balance. That is exactly what a hobby should do. It should help you find that balance. It should help you deal with the stresses of the day and just I love that. It should balance. That is the key word, I think, with finding a hobby. If crocheting or learning a language feels like it would work, then that won't work. Would be work. If crocheting or learning a language feels like it would be work, then that's not the hobby for you. I had a girlfriend whose hobby was math. She loved math. She loved math classes. She would do math problems for fun. That was her hobby. Math to me is a creation of the devil to make Christians and humans falter. I hate math. I can't do math. But it was what made her happy. It brought balance for her. So I didn't say, "Oh, you're a nerd or geeky for doing Oh, that's so cool. I had a friend who I met online, a young lady who we shared a passion for the show Firefly, one of the best sci-fi shows ever, and I loved it.
The pitter patter of tiny feet in huge combat boots. Shut up!
I've been playing around with StreamYards, and I got a lot of video clips and sound bites that I've just been having so much fun with. Yeah, but I mentioned one time that I would love to have a orange puffball hat like Jane Cobb had in it, and she's like, "What's your address?" And I said, "Why?" She's like, "Just tell me." I t-
Well, my days of not taking you seriously are certainly coming to a middle.
But she crocheted me a Jane Cobb puffball hat that I have sitting right here on my desk beside me. It is one of my absolute favorite things that I've ever been given. And for a few years, we used to have a convention that would go on downtown from in the town I lived in. And what I would do, I would volunteer for it. I would volunteer to work at it. So I worked maybe 2 hours in the morning and then had the rest of the day to just go and play, visit all of it. And I was getting in for free. I wore my puffball hat, and people were like, "Shiny." They kept stopping me, and I saw a kid with a hat. He was decked out as Jane, and I'm like, he wanted a picture of me because I had the same hat as him. It was just so much fun. She was able to take her hobby and share it with me. Her passion, a passion that we shared, and she was able to give me something special that I have treasured for a long time. It just gets so hot here in Florida that I can't wear it that much because if I wear it, I'm just dripping sweat because it's knitted wool. Next section. See if any of you see if you have any past hobbies that that you've forgotten about. Maybe you already had a hobby, just you completely forgot about it. Though it seems like a weird thing to do, sometimes our hobbies might feel like projects, and we don't realize that they could become a running activity in our lives. If you think back to a few projects you started in the past that swiftly forgot about, you might have your hobby. Yeah, that's a good point. Um, Sometimes we just get bored with something. Sometimes just we might run into a roadblock that causes your hobby to become a chore, so you put it aside and then you forget about it. I like this idea of looking back on your things that you did before, and maybe that's your hobby. Maybe you could find your hobby that way. Here's one. Notice what you love to buy as guilty pleasures. Is there a certain thing you just can't help but buy every time you're out shopping? The item might be holding the clues towards your next hobby. According to the craft blogger Deborah at Creativity for Life, always checking out the latest fashion trends. Consider trying knitting or sewing. Do you love scented candles? Maybe you could make your own. Maybe your walls adorned with fine arts. Try painting. Are you always thumbing through short storybooks trying to write your own? Are you always looking out for chunky infinity scarves? I had a girlfriend who loved scars and she loved makeup, and I remember it was the perfect. I brought her this really nice silk infinity scar and for Christmas, and she loved wearing makeup and getting all beautified when we would go out for dinners. So I remember a friend of mine, she was selling Sally Mae Cosmetics at the time. I think it was Sally Mae. I don't remember. And I said, I went up to her. I said, here's how much I want to spend. I have no idea of anything about makeup, help me. And she's like, sure, no problem. And she made this really like beautiful 5-tier Christmas tree um, box set of makeup, and each box was different makeups getting smaller and forming like this beautiful Christmas tree that my girlfriend at the time she really loved. See what you want to change about yourself. Some people might have a hard time doing idle work that serves no purpose other than being fun. I don't have that problem. You know what? You know that feeling when you're out at the movies or enjoying a long shopping trip and you think, I really should be doing X instead. If you're always on the move and trying to hit a goal or better yourself, make your hobby fit that criteria. Pick one up that will help your change for the better. I was talking about this and going back up to the buy guilty pleasure one. I have always dreamed about having my own lightsaber. And I watched these amazing videos of cosplayers. I found one where she's this beautiful young woman. She she starts out in normal clothing and she starts swinging her lightsaber around, and she does this thing where she flips it behind her and transitions, and she's decked out in her Star Wars cosplay. I was so tempted to buy, and I shared this with some people on Discord. I was so tempted to buy a lightsaber for it was like $78 for the lightsaber itself. It came out to like 110 with shipping and handling. It was a stunt lightsaber. It didn't make any sounds because that could be extra. That would have made it to like 150, $160. Didn't want to spend that. But I'm like, no, I kept fighting the urge. I beat the urge because the deal ended yesterday. But sometimes you have to buy something for the fun of it. It's like I was walking through my local my local Dollar Generals, and God, they're coming up like weeds nowadays. And I saw this little Lego set. It was the Aston Martin DB5 from James Bond. It was the one from Skyfall. And I'm like, and the DB5 is one of my favorite cars ever. I love GoldenEye. It's one of my favorite Bond movies. Sean Connery and Pierce Brosnan. If you held a gun to my head and told me to choose which Bond of those two, I wouldn't be able to do it. But I saw this Aston Martin DB5 Lego set, and I had to get it. It was like $20. I'm like, I have to get this, and I got it sitting right here beside my poofball hat and a little Godzilla figurine because sometimes you have to just get something to serve that inner child. You have to allow your inner child to go like, yay, yippee, something cool, some new toy. It's like my dad just yesterday got a new lawnmower, and he has been working with it, playing with it, seeing how it cuts. That's because, like I said earlier, yard work is his hobby. And but getting back, Mark Mason, self-improvement blogger, suggested asking yourself this in-your-face question: what is true about you today that would make... Yes, this is just what I was saying. I love this. Mark Mason, you're awesome. Thinking ahead. What is true about you today that would make your 8-year-old self cry? Meaning, what have you stopped doing just because it stopped being lucrative or adult responsibilities got in the way? Then go after it. Chances are it'll give you a new sense of purpose. Yes, that inner child that we all have. That idea that if your 10-year-old self and yourself today met, how would you interact? That's yes. I love that idea of that. Just because we're growing up, we're adults, don't mean we have to give up fun. Think of the last thing that made you forget to eat. What was the last thing you did in your life that made the time completely fly by? When did you have one of those moments where you checked the clock and were shocked you missed lunch or dinner because you were so absorbed in your work? Remember it and then go after it. Or pick apart the core ideas of what made it so special for you and see if you can find them in a different activity. I remember one time. Depression is a hobby now? Awesome. What does that shelf at Michael's craft store look like? Tissues, ice creams, Streisand CDs, wine, chocolate, rope? mm, Sounds like a kinky good time to me, Shelly. That shelf sounds like a kinky good time. And
You mean Richards? Objection, Your Honor. What the fuck is going on here?
those things, Shelly, they could be used for a fun time. I'm not, depression. I think, and I find this in my personal life to be true. My depression personally really ramps up when I'm alone and not doing anything. When I don't have any of my hobbies going on. When I feel stuck. So a hobby, I think, is a non-drug cure for depression. But I remember one time, we had a guy at our church who ran a music studio. I mean, he had. Hey! Gotta have a good time somewhere, just saying. But I remember being invited to a music studio one time, and we were learning how to mix at a genuine soundboard. This soundboard is like an antique, really beautiful, really amazing. He even had a microphone that was used in like the 30s and 40s at like NBC studios when they were doing radio dramas. One of those big, I can't, silver microphones and he had one too that was those round ones, kind of like they use at the Grand Ole Opry, that has the mic in the middle suspended by springs. He had a great collection, but it comes my turn. He had some music that he wanted us to mix and see how we did it. And I think that was the most focused I ever was in my entire life. I was surrounded by my friends, and one of them said, "I don't think we could have gotten your attention with a nuclear bomb." It was another way to create that I found absolutely enjoyable. Continuing with our lesson, Mason explained, "It wasn't until I gave up the games that I realized my passion wasn't for games themselves, although I do love them. My passion is for improvement. Being good at something and then trying to get better. Maybe for you, it's something else. Maybe it's organizing things effectively or getting lost in a fantasy world. You all know my love for D&D. I absolutely love the storytelling, the creating, the chances that you take with the dice rolls. And that's one reason I write this genre I do, is creating those worlds. Whatever it is, don't just look at the activities, but keep you up all night, but look at the cognitive principles behind those activities that enthrall you, because they can easily be applied elsewhere. And that's right, with D&D, a lot of schools, they use that as social activities, how to improve problem-solving skills, and communications among kids and teachers, and so that's why I think one reason D&D has endured since the 70s for so long. Look behind the reason why you love a certain interest and see if you can apply it to a hobby. It's a lot easier than it first seemed. Finding something that makes you tick outside of work can seem like a giant task in and of itself, but it's worth it to find something that makes you feel creatively and independently fulfilled. So try a few of these tips and see what happens. It may be easier to figure out than you expect. 5 hobbies that improve your health. A hobby can improve both mental and physical health. Like my kayaking that I used to do. It allowed me to get out in nature to enjoy the summer, to enjoy the cool water of the lake, but I also was getting exercise. I was really buffing up. I was really burn a lot of fat, and if I had a vehicle that I could carry a kayak in, I'd be going kayaking every weekend. Because there are spots within there are 3 spots within miles of my house that I could put in and just float on down back home. One is dancing, a fun form of exercise. I've been almost going an hour, so I'm just going to list these up. Gardening is good for the brain. I've mentioned gardening for my dad. Writing, which is one I personally enjoy. Music is medicine. This is what I want to hit on. I have songs that when I hear them, it takes me back to sitting with my friends in the band room, goofing off, listening to music, not having really care or days that we had home games and sitting outside the band room, hanging out with them, having walk across the street to the donut shop to get some food and playing music and just sitting there making memories. Music is just, it heals people. There have been so many cases of people in comas hearing music or forms of entertainment and recovering. A famous story is Mel Blanc, who was the voice of Looney Tunes from like the 40s till the 80s. He was the Bugs, Daffy, all these amazing characters. He had such a range. Well, one night he was driving past Dead Man's Curb in Los Angeles, which is basically almost a 90-degree turn up in the hills, and he gets in a serious car accident and in a coma. And they're trying so many different ways to get him come out. And the doctor thinks, hold on a second. He turns the TV on to Looney Tunes. And he leans down to Mel and says, Bugs, can you hear me? And Mel responds in his Bugs voice, yeah, Doc. Daffy, can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. And he slowly came out of it. And just music and sounds. Like, I can hear, this is, sadly, I listened to this song when I was in high school in the early 2000s. Skater Boy by Avril Lavigne was a big song when I was a freshman. And I can hear that song and I go right back seeing my friends clear as day. And this is one that I really like. Pets are good for the heart. I'm going to actually read this one. Pets of all types can make wonderful companions, and they can also help us to be healthier in many ways. According to the CDC, owning a pet may not only provides opportunities for exercise, outdoors, and socialization, it can also help you decrease your blood pressure, cholesterol levels. I can't pronounce this. Whatever this is, triglycerides. Yeah, I can't pronounce. And feelings of loneliness. I had a Staffordshire Terrier for 13 years. I love my Sadie to death. She was there for me when a lot of things were falling apart. When I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, she was there for me. She never judged me. All she asked for in return was food and pets. Triglycerides. Thank you. I couldn't. Thank you, Shelly. I thought that might be the word. I just couldn't get it out. Triglycerides. Thank you. And but with like all pets, her time came and went. And I remember a few months after we had to say goodbye, I'm having one of the most vivid dreams that I ever had before or since. That I'm sitting in the floor, petting her, stroking her back, like I had done thousands of times. And I mean, this was so vivid. I smelt the air in the living room. I felt the wind from the ceiling fan, and I'm just sitting there petting her fur, petting her back. And I wake up, and my arms are just to the empty air, just petting it like an invisible dog. And it was the most vivid dream I ever had. You know, she was given to us. Staffies are a type of pit bull breed. I would have never picked if you had taken me to the pound and said pick a dog, I wouldn't have probably picked a Staffordshire Terrier. But Sadie, she was the most loving, caring, beautiful dog I ever had. The only way she could hurt you was if you got hit by that tail that was just going 90 miles an hour. She would lick you to death before she'd do anything to hurt you. But she's a little devious little bitch. She was a little devious little bitch because she was so strong we couldn't spank her. You know, our dog trainer said get a bottle of vinegar water, and if she has something that she shouldn't have, like a sock or trash or anything, squirt her. Just like a teaspoon to like 5 or 6 ounces of water, just enough that she smells the vinegar. And so whenever we have to do it, or she'd drop what she was doing, or it got to the point where we'd pick up the bottle if she was doing anything wrong, and she'd drop whatever she was doing. But she was smart. She was a little devious. She'd come up to you a few hours later, come to where I'd be sitting on the couch. She'd come sit between my legs, and I'd be petting her. And all of a sudden, I get this awful smell. She would fart on me and pay back, and she'd walk off. Before she'd make the turn to go on the other side of the couch, she'd look at you with that staffy grin that only pit bull breeds with their big jowls can give you, and like, payback's a bitch. But so she helped me through a lot of like feelings of loneliness, all these things that they list here. If a 2023 study questioned whether the association between pet owners itself is directly linked to a lowered risk of heart disease among pet owners that had been reported in previous studies. Pet ownership, particularly dog ownership, is probably associated with a decreased risk of heart disease, said study author Glenn N. Levine. It may be simply that healthier people are the ones that have pets, not that actually having a pet leads to or causes reduction in cardiovascular system. I may disagree with that because you have to get out with your dog, take him for walks, which gives you exercise. And like I said, with it lowering these, I think maybe it helps with heart disease. But with and I think that's with hobbies in general. It makes us healthier, both mentally and physically. Just that feeding of our inner child takes our brains back to maybe healthier, happier times, and it allows us not to. Um, it allows us not to dwell on the problems of adulthood, but it gives us a break that maybe stepping away from those problems allows us the opportunity to come up with ways to deal with them, to handle them. So I would suggest everyone should find a hobby. I had a friend. I hope Rex, I hope you don't mind me sharing this. I've talked to Rex a few times about maybe not being on YouTube so much, finding a hobby outside of YouTube. Like he said, crocheting and watching TV shows. That's a great way to get. That's great. That I'm so happy you found that. I love watching TV shows too. I mean, I'm watching a show right now. It's been off for a few years, but it's called Killjoys. It's really great. I recommend it. But we all need hobbies, and it shouldn't matter how good you are at them. God forbid you're trying to improve yourself. You're not going to be Mozart or Beethoven the first time you sit in front of a piano. Even Mozart and Beethoven had to practice. Michelangelo, he had to practice. All these masters that we see throughout history were once students. They were once learning how to do these things. They didn't come out of the womb. Yes, Beethoven, Mozart, they were child prodigies, but they still had to learn. So don't get discouraged when you're having to learn a hobby, because I find the discouragement, and like I said at the beginning, the discouragement is the biggest obstacle I have faced. That I had stopped many times trying to learn something because I just feel like I can't do it. Well, the term "I can't do it" needs another word added to it, I believe. I think it should be "I can't do it yet." One thing I want to do is I want to make my own Mandalorian costume. I would love to be able to make my own Mando helmet. But I have tried. I don't know where to start. I've been sent so many files like, "Oh, you need to do this, this, and this." I'm like, "Okay, but how do you do this, this, and this?" Try, 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 try. Like the old saying goes, if at first you don't succeed, try again. I love creating. That's why I do this. There's no more amazing feeling that I ever felt than being in a halftime show in high school, marching across that field in formation, knowing that you're part of something, that you're part of a whole. A lot of people, they don't feel themselves part of anything, and that's one thing that band was for me. my mom told me once. I remember one time I was walking across the parking lot in my marching uniform, and my mom just said, "You carry yourself differently. You carry yourself with pride. Your shoulders are more squared. You're just more confident." And just marching across information in that, playing a song that you've been working for months at this point. Most people don't realize when the football team is out there practicing during the summer, the band is right there in another part of the school doing the same thing out in that heat. We would get out there around 7:30 for like a month during their summer, be done at like 11, 12 o'clock in the morning. We go get lunch till like 1. Then from like 1 to 3, or we'd be in the band room practicing the music. And then from 3 to 5, we would be back on the practice field again, running through the routine. But that feeling of when you're 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 hitting that last note, and you snap into your position, and that last note just echoes through the football stadium. What? Is YouTube screwing me over, Lady Autumn Sky? Thank you for being here. I'm glad you came. But and then you hear your classmates, your peers, your friends just jump up screaming and applauding, and knowing that you gave them joy. Your hobby, your passion. They number 2 at the China. They number 2 asshole at the China. Your passion moved somebody. That's why I say the tagline of this channel is find your passion and nerd out about it. We need something that brings us joy. Every one of us needs something to bring us joy. If that's painting, construction, reading, writing. George R.R. Martin said something that I really remembered. He said, find something that you can sit down and start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the next thing you know, it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, if he only would do that with writing, we could get the last Game of Thrones book. But we all need something that we can lose ourselves in, that we can look at and be absolutely proud of. And there may be other people that try to make you feel little for it, they try to make you feel less of a person for your passions, for things you enjoy, that you love. And you know what I have to say to them? Screw them. Because maybe if they maybe they're looking at you in jealousy. Maybe they're looking at you and thinking, I wish I had that kind of drive, that kind of passion. We as humans need to create. There's so much destruction in the world that we need to create. We need that sense of accomplishment. Some of the greatest yeah, you're what that means a lot. That means a lot, Lady Autumn. And it's like, I'm not a parent myself, but I do have a niece who I'm helping raise. Completely different. I couldn't. Having twins. If I found out I was having twins with me and the girl I was with having twins, I would be. You'd have to pick me up off the floor. But my niece, she used to draw. She doesn't anymore. I don't see her drawing much anymore. She would be on YouTube watching these streams, just trying to learn how to draw. It's something I wish I could do. I've tried to draw many times, and it's like, it's like, God, the stick figure looks like he has like a physical disability. It's like, oh my God, I can't do this. And I think one of the worst four-letter words that a person can utter is not fuck, not shit. It's can't. Can't. If people dwelled on the word can't, we wouldn't have anything that we have today. It's like Sir Edmund Hillary when he was asked, "Why are you?" I think was, "Why are you climbing Mount Everest?" Sir Edmund Hillary, why do you want to climb Mount Everest? He says, "Because it is there." What if he said, "I can't do it"? This great explorer probably heard so many people say, "You can't do that." The Wright brothers, how many times were they probably told, man can't fly. If man was meant to fly, God would have given us wings. And the Wright brothers probably looked at each other and said, yes, we can. Or like the Egyptians said, we can't build these giant pyramids. Not thinking 4,000 years later, we'd still be in awe of them. If we listened to the word can't, we would have nothing. Mankind would be nothing. That's why we need hobbies. Hobbies can turn into passions, which turn. I never thought I could paint, and then for my oldest birthday, we went painting with a twist. Oh, that sounds cool. Our local arts organization in town, they do paintings classes, all sorts of stuff. And I just, so many times I've heard, you can't do this, nerd. And you know what? I'm guilty. I've more times than not listened to that word. Hey, guys, there's no need to apologize for our in real life stuff. In real life, to me, in real life stuff takes precedence over YouTube. We I can't think of what to say next. We have to stop listening to can't and start listening to can. I can do this. I can be better. I can improve myself. That's See, I do that with Legos. I don't do like model kits and stuff. I've always done that with Legos. I remember some of the best memories I have as a kid was on Christmas Day opening Legos, and then me and my dad spending hours building them together. It might have lasted maybe 3 or 4 weeks before I was taking them apart to build something of my own. But it's that sense of accomplishment that man needs to survive. And I think the past few years we've lost that drive for the most part. We see, yeah, that's what people need. That's the hurdle people have trouble getting over, Lady Autumn. The nervous and self-doubt, and then it finally breaks away like a dam to fun. Um, if our great grandparents said we can't fight in this war, we'd be speaking German right now. The world would be an entirely different place if our great grandparents said we can't. But they said we can and we must for the sake of our children, for the sake of our descendants. We can and we must do this. We have seemed to have, over the past few years, I think, really that drive, that can-do attitude has really, really I think it's really dried up. I think we see pseudo social media. We don't all these big stars on YouTube or Instagram. We're not seeing their whole lives. We're seeing a very cultivated view of what they want us to see. That YouTuber that you're watching play video games, they might have just gotten some bad news that morning. And this is their escape. This is their hobby trying to get over it. You don't know the troubles. Nobody knows the troubles I've seen. Nobody knows my sorrows. But and that cultivated lens that we look through really skews our way of what's real, what's attainable. I mean, like Mr. Beast and Ninja, they're millionaires. There's no way that there's no being them. There's no getting back to that really. Because you're not them. You're your own individual self. You have your own individual interests, your own individual passions, your own individual hobbies. Let's be honest, between all the politics and the social media generations, instances on a need of cultural identity, we lost the will to persevere in spite of the odds against us. Exactly. What's that old saying that rough times create good men, good rough times create tough men create good times create soft men create bad times. I think I got that. And I think we're in the bad times section of that. So hopefully that pendulum is starting to swing the other way and we'll be getting back to the good times soon. So once again, wrapping this up, hobbies, we need hobbies for the sake of our mental health. We need them for our physical health. We need them for for social things. I honestly believe that with hobbies can save our lives. So so you know, find what you love. And remember, I you know I'm gonna wrap this up. Like, share, and subscribe my channel. Check out Talking Trash and Truths, Winning Reality, and T-Rex Trucking. T-Rex, he has some really great, relaxing, just driving down America's roads. So check him out. Check out Kaiser. So some really great pop culture views. But find your hobbies, find your passion, and nerd out about it. Love you all. Thanks for being here. I'm the nerd of the Outpost, and I'm gone.
Lost in space, I found my place. In this outpost of silence, to my way. Binary code runs through my veins. With every beat and beep, I feel no pain. Signing off, it's time to go. Goodbye, my nerdy friends, see you later. I know through the stars we've shared this ride, but now it's time to